Well, welcome everyone. I'm here with Pete Ray to chat about Sunday Kids and the things we've been thinking about, having listened to 2 Zoom meetings and just kind of what's the way forward. Maybe not kind of in the long term, but just even in the short term with this coronavirus world we live in. So, Pete, as we've been chatting, what are some of the things that are the principles by which we've taken on board as we approach kids ministry on Sundays?
Yeah, so we kind of got 4 things we want to focus on. Firstly, we want to help partner with the parents in discipling their own kids. You know, parents are important in the life of kids. We want to be there for them and help them do that. We also want to increase connections between the children and other adults in the service. You know, we don't want kids to be by themselves and adults by themselves. We want to kind of bring them together so we can mutually encourage each other in the faith. We want to be teaching the different age groups in a way that's appropriate for them while still kind of having that together time. So kind of balancing that, their own time to be taught and the time together.
That sounds great. And I think that might just work on the program, what we've come up with. So I've got the computer here. Yeah. We're going to throw it up on the screen. How about I chat through what the adults are doing, and then you can chat through when the kids come in.
Yeah,
How's that work? So we're actually thinking about what does each one of our congregations look like. They're all the same. So the idea is that each one of them actually has a very similar structure of what we do. So here we've got a picture of the kind of going across from left to right. We've got the start time, which is the service start time, kind of an indication of 30 minutes, an hour after the service starts, hour and a half, and then 2 hours. So what we expect is the adults and families to be arriving, from 15 minutes beforehand. We then have a bit of hangout time before, and then we have that video material that starts, given what we're doing at the moment because of coronavirus. And that video goes for, kind of half an hour or so. Then we've been, actually at the moment, the kids have been leaving then, haven't they?
Yeah.
And then we'll have a chat time and pray together. And then kind of have this all-together time, which is shorter for some of the congregations and longer for others, depending on what's happening afterwards. So, Pete, I'll flick through and you share what's happening with the kids.
Yeah, sure. So the kids, they arrive obviously with their parents. So they're there for the start. Before the start of the service, they're kind of in with all the adults. And then they go into the video time with their parents. So everyone's all in together watching the start of the video. That's like the intro, the kind of creed, confession, the Bible reading time. And then we'll pause the video kind of around the Bible reading time.
Yep.
And that'll be where...
so we've got a bit of a break in the video there, a little bit of a break. The parents leave, take their kids to check in, and it's an opportunity for the other adults to chat. So, tell us how check-in's going to work.
Yeah, so check-in process, what we're thinking at the moment is, the parents will bring their kids out into the foyer where there'll be a table set up with the leaders, and it'll be a very similar process to check-in before church. We just kind of have the Fluro app open, check the kids in, and then the kids will head downstairs to their programs with the leaders, and the parents will head back into church for the rest of their video time.
Nice. Okay, so they then come back. So there's a bit of a break in the adult time. So now the kids are down. So what's the first thing that's happening in Sunday Kids?
Yeah, so we're splitting the kids' time into 2 sections. The first one is going to be the teaching time. So that's kind of when the Bible stuff happens. So the talks, the memory verses, the time where we can really engage kids with God's word and teach them about Jesus and teach them how to follow him in faith.
Cool. And the second time?
The second time we're labelling it chill time. That is where we have the kids and the adult leaders down there just kind of interacting with each other. We're trying to foster relationships through conversation, through activities that might be craft, games, kind of story times, those kind of things. A bit more informal, but we're there for the reason that kids can engage with adults and they can mutually encourage each other and grow in relationship together.
So increased relationship with other adults in the congregation, and some of that might be material that connects with the teaching time, but not necessarily. Is that
exactly
right?
Exactly right.
Yeah. Okay, that's awesome. And then the kids, what happens to them during that? Kind of when they finish their time.
Yeah. So when it comes to the end of the kids' time, which is roughly around the end of the chat time for the adults, the parents will come downstairs to the programs and pick up their kids from there.
Gotcha. Okay, so their parents pick up the kids and then bring them all back. And there's a bunch of things we've been doing all together.
Yeah.
Some of the congregations, that means food in some way, but it means that we've got some of those kind of every generation games, whether it's cornhole toss or chess, or there's some things for the kids to do. We want the kids to be kind of engaged with others at that time as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Looking forward to the playground as well when it opens.
Should be great.
Okay, and what about creche?
Yeah, so creche runs quite similarly to as it has already. So before the service, the creche will be open when parents arrive. They can check in their kids. Video starts, creche is already going. Kids are in there being looked after by the leaders. And then at the end, kind of when the Sunday kids crew are being picked up by the adults, at the same time, the creche is being picked up. So it all kind of ends roughly the same time, and then everyone's all in together, like birth through the retired.
Gotcha. So if I've got a kid that goes to creche, the first thing I do is when I arrive, I check them to creche.
Yep.
Any other kids with me in church, at the other end of things, I go pick up other kids. I've got to pick them up as an adult, and I pick up the creche kids, and then we're all in together.
Exactly right.
And parents have got, or the caregivers have got responsibility for the children there. That's great. Okay, now that's our program. Now that's happening. The teaching and chill time. What age groups is that happening for at the moment, and what's the vision for how things could look?
So at the moment, because of coronavirus and all the restrictions we have, and less numbers of parents and families coming, at the moment we're just kind of running all the kids in together. So preschool through to year 5 is the age of Sunday kids. At the moment, all in together.
Yeah.
But the view of the future, when we build bigger leadership teams and more kids are coming along to church, we want to start breaking up those groups slowly. So might add a preschool group and then the rest of kind of primary school all together. Then bring in like a lower primary group and then have an upper primary group. So eventually the goal is to have 4 groups across Sunday kids, so creche, preschool, lower and then upper primary.
And that's kind of, into the future. So we kind of got some stages to growing and returning as our congregations can push past the 100 number. And what about kids that are years 6, 7, 8?
Yes, that's a conversation that will happen with the youth ministry team because at the moment from year 6 up, they're kind of invited to Velocity in the youth ministry. But the view is we'd love to have a group for year 6 to year 8, maybe like a Bible study group. But yeah, that'll be a conversation with youth ministry, and we'll try and get that up as running as quick as we can.
It's awesome. Now, just thinking about how we want to structure this, one of the things about the music team is that they have 4 bands. You're on 1 week and then off 3, and really that works very well for us when we think about hospitality, particularly when we're thinking about kind of preparing meals, for instance. It's a bit rough, kind of being 1 month on, 1 month off. And we want to engage more people in serving, so that not everyone is, no one's doing too much, but everyone's doing something.
Yeah.
Now, if the music team's going 1 week in 4, then and hospitality kind of makes sense going 1 week in 4.
Yep.
Tell us about Sunday Kids.
It's going to go 1 week in 4.
Surprise, surprise. Okay. Which also means it's really easy to serve. Like, I can serve on music, I can serve on, hospitality in some way, I can serve on Sunday Kids or, Hello Team or whatever it might be, that if we structure it that way, it makes it easy to be able to serve on multiple things, but also not biting off too much that you can't do it as well. Yeah. What about the different kinds of leaders? We've got the teaching time, we've got the kids' chill time. Tell us about the leaders that are needed there.
Yeah, so we're going to try and build 2 teams.
Tell us about the experience of the kids first.
Yeah.
What does it look like for the kids? Because one of the issues has been continuity. If they've got the same leaders there every week from another congregation, how does it look different, what we're planning on doing? And each one has its pluses and minuses. Yeah. What's the plus of doing the structure that we're proposing today?
Yeah, so the structure we're proposing is that most of the leaders will come from within that own congregation. So like kind of the congregation looking after their own kids. Yep. So what will happen is kind of with the 1 week in 4, there'll be a continuity in that every 4 weeks you'll see that same set of leaders, and it'll be those kind of 4 teams throughout the entire year. So we continue in that, but then you lose the kind of every week aspect that the leaders kind of used to have. But that's not to say that in the all-together time, that all the leaders are already there. And the kids will be able to see the leaders who might not have been rostered on for the kids that week, they're still there in the church and can still engage with the kids in the all-together time. So still we'll be able to see every single leader every week. It's just that each week, kind of 1 in 4, there'll be the kind of dedicated leaders for that Sunday Kids that week.
So when the kids turn up, they'll be able to see, kind of like at least 8 other adults that they know who are engaging with them regularly, somewhere, more than 8 leaders, in fact. That's got some real advantages. Obviously it doesn't have the same level of continuity. The structure has a level of continuity. The spaces will have a continuity. And we've got on the radar kids for whom that really doesn't work. We want to have some spaces and other things, but that's a conversation for, kind of another time.
Definitely.
What about the leaders? What do we need to know about the leaders to make all this work?
Yeah, so 2 types of leaders. So we've got the teaching leaders and the chill time leaders. So the teaching leaders are going to be the ones that are in charge of the Bible time. So the talks, the memory verses, the songs, the times where we really engage kids with the Bible. And then you'll have the chill leaders who are in charge of the time where the kids and adults are just interacting, doing some activities and building relationship. And both leaders are equally important and we'll be training both sets of leaders in their different roles. But there'll be two kind of different areas of kids' church and Sunday kids that they'll be in charge of.
So, I mean, that means that instead of thinking I've got to be super competent, I've got to be super committed to serving at another congregation another time, I can actually serve 1 in 4, and I don't have to necessarily be super competent at teaching kids, but just keen to be involved and helping the kids and doing things that I feel comfortable doing. That's also an option.
Exactly. And we'll be training you in that. And if you want to kind of step up from chill time and do teaching as well, we'll train you in that transition as well.
Yeah. Pete, what about the leaders who, let's say it is their congregation, they're missing out on hearing the word, 1 week in 4.
Yeah.
What are some options for them? Because, you can't do everything in life. Think, okay, we want everyone to hear the word in that adult gathered time and look after the kids at the same time in another space. There are so many things we want to do in life. This is where we're making compromises. How do those people they hear the word on that day?
So there's 2 main options that we're thinking about at the moment. First will be the services will be recorded, or it's the video, so it's kind of out there on YouTube for you to watch when you get home. Or there is the other option of, say you're at the 9 o'clock service and that's your usual service and you're serving kids, so you miss the message. Hang around for 10:45, come back at 5 o'clock, and that's not a problem. You can come on a different service that Sunday and still hear the message.
That'd be super cool, because you could actually, promote those connections across our whole church.
Exactly.
Between the congregations. So, you can kind of 1 week in 4 just think, I'll go visit one of the other ones, and build some friendships there and connections there. So, Pete, I think that's got us to where we are. Everything's still in draft form, isn't it?
Definitely.
This is the ideas we've been putting together for everyone to hear, engage with. We have our Zoom conversation about this and really kind of reassess it. But this might be where we land. It might not. But we're keen to hear people's feedback on these ideas.
Definitely right.
Thanks, Pete. Thanks so much.
You.